Michael Aufrichtig, 1 month after NCAA's. Michael, what are you feeling right now?
Feeling great. Yeah, wonderful.
And we're a month out. What memories or moments do you still remember most and bring you chills?
So, ever since like our very first team meeting that we had back in September, I remember speaking to the team, telling them that we definitely had a shot this year, telling them that this was an important one because it was for the seniors. The seniors this year, they were freshmen when I first got here. And when I first got here, I told them that they would have the opportunity to win. So I'm really glad we were able to capitalize on that.
And speaking of that promise, those are some pretty bold promises and bold commitments. Joining the staff just 4 years ago, already promising to bring home not only Ivy League titles, but also NCAA titles. What led you to believe that you could make those timelines and those commitments?
I really thought that by being able to pick the right individuals, both men and women, do what I call the right ways of putting people in a position to win in terms of preparing them for training, putting it all together into a program package is what I call it, that we'd have that opportunity. And I knew we wouldn't be able to do it in the first couple of years because you have to be prepared, and college fencing is much different than the fencing at the world level, and so I knew it would take a couple of years, and I figured 4 years was about the right time.
Now it's been over 20 years since Columbia won its last fencing NCAA title. Before the interview, you said Columbia is the only program in fencing is the only program in Columbia's history to win an NCAA title. What made you so confident that even putting this formula of yours in place, you would be the coach to turn that all around?
Well, I come from an environment at the New York Athletic Club where we're used to winning. Even getting second place, it's a really sad day. And when I first got to Columbia, a lot of the coaches are very welcoming. A lot of the programs here are top 2 or 3 in the Ivy League. But for whatever reason, the fencing team, we just didn't have that confidence. And I'm not sure if we had that team feeling. And over the last 4 seasons, we were able to bring that, and it ended up becoming a championship team.
And why did you choose the timeline of 3 years for Ivies, 4 leagues, 4 years for NCAAs?
Well, with Ivies, and Ivies sometimes is probably even stronger than the NCAA Championships, in the fact that you need 9 deep per male and female weapon versus 6 deep at the NCAA Championships. But I just thought that by bringing in the right individuals, working as a team, we would be able to win in 3 years Ivy Championships. And when it came down to it, a few touches, we wouldn't have been champions. So I do look that there's some angels watching over me at times. And then with the NCAAs, I knew that would be 3 years of my recruiting class. 3 years from my very first recruiting class, so I'd have 3 years of my recruits that I had an opportunity to work with and train, and then have that freshman year, the freshman class that I inherited when I first got here. It was a very talented class, would have 4 years under me. So that's why I thought it was about the right time.
And you talk about the comparison in format between Ivies and NCAAs. How about this year, knowing you had such a strong team on both the men's and women's side? How would you compare the preparation, intensity, and the accomplishment of winning both?
Yeah, well, so both men and women are very strong, and when you look at it, still a very young team as well. And the beauty is when you have the right people, they push themselves. So whether it be at practice, whether it be at practice here at Columbia, whether it be practice at the clubs, they were always pushing each other. And so the great part about that is we have the right coaches here, we have the right training here, but then they have the right attitudes to push each other to make them really the best fencers that they can be.
And you talk about the coaches. Aki Spencer-Eel just coming on last year, so in his second season. How did his addition to the team help benefit through his contributions to the Sabre squad?
Sure, Aki is an amazing coach. He was an amazing fencer. I remember when he was fencing, how great of a fencer he was, and now he's working with many top athletes. And beyond being a great coach, he's a great individual. And I find that about all of our coaching staff. Dr. Aldar Kogler, Sungwoo Lee, they're all great people. And I think that means a lot when it comes to these, young adults here in college. It's beyond the coaching, which everybody's at their top, but they're also great people, and they connect with the athletes.
And you know, again, you make a slight comparison between the NCAA level and mentality, and also kind of the level beyond this with international competition. Given the fact that so many of your student athletes are balancing both, they have class here at Columbia, they have the NAC schedule, they have international schedule, they have the NCAA schedule. How do you keep them focused and get them to commit to be all in for Columbia University?
So the very first thing that I tell anyone that's considering Columbia is that I support both goals. I support the Olympic world team, junior world team goals, as well as, of course, the NCAA and Ivy League goals that we have here for a team. But the only way they're going to be happy here is if they can commit to the Ivy League championships and the NCAA championships. And before the NCAA championships, there's the NCAA regionals. So really, we're asking for 3 weekends. That's the most important tournaments for Columbia. And they know before they come here that if there is a conflict, that Columbia comes first in those 3 tournaments. And it's been working.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you know, when you were brought on 4 years ago, the decision to hire you, there was some skepticism and critics out there that felt maybe it wasn't the right choice for Columbia. Obviously, the ring assortment there on the table and the awards behind you prove otherwise. Why do you feel there was some criticism to the decision to hire you?
Well, I feel some of the criticism was that I'm not the typical coach. You know, I didn't go over to Europe. I didn't get my coaching degree. I mean, I was a good épée fencer, but I was never, you know, officially a coach. And I feel that people now, they can see that when it comes to coaching, it's a lot more than just the technical part of the coaching. You know, when it comes to the technical part of coaching, I hired the best technical coaches that are out there. And that works. And then there's the mental aspect of the coaching. And then there's the physical aspect of the coaching. And when it came to the physical aspect of coaching, I hired what I feel are the best physical trainers, which is Verb Fitness. When it comes to the mental, we have a great sports psychologist here, Brent Walker. We have Dr. Aldar Kogler. And I feel I can do some pretty good mental coaching as well. So it's just really just understanding what my strengths are and using them the best that I can. And then where I might not be as strong is bringing in the best. And that's what created the championship program.
And you know, now looking back, have you had the opportunity to talk with people who maybe openly criticized you and have come around to you know, your philosophy? Or what might you say to some of the people who criticized you early on?
Well, it's been pretty silent out there. I haven't heard too many complaints ever since, you know, we won the NCAA championship. There have been some alumni that came up to me even last week at our team dinner, and they said, you know, Coach, I really didn't know you. I didn't know who you were, and you know, I saw the progress and everything. And I just want to just thank you for everything you've done. You know, they tell me that they kind of sat back just to see what would happen, and now they are just like, wow, you know, thank you for helping bring the Columbia program back on top.
And again, the rings on the table for sizing of NCAA national championship rings, along with the trophies behind you, really do the speaking for you.
That's what, yeah, I agree.
Now, you know, you are, as you said, like it's been pretty silent, not only in the criticism side, but also from you. You've just been kind of going through about your business your whole time here at Columbia. The modesty and kind of humility about your approach and the success that's come as a result. You know, is that a conscious part of your approach to this successful team, or where do you find that?
Well, there's a quote by Sun Tzu, and this might not be the exact quote, but he says it's the cool, calm, unattached warrior who wins, not the hothead seeking vengeance or the ambitious seeker of fortune. And that's a quote that I pretty much live by. And I feel that our team, as obnoxious as we could be in some of our cheers and different things like that, we really are the cool, calm, detached warriors. You know, we try not to focus on the result. I mean, although we always say our mission is Ivy League titles and NCAA titles, that's set out there so we understand what we're aiming towards the goal. But then we just do the job to become the best fencers we can be, and then the results just happen, right?
And about, you know, being the best fencers you can be. You talked about 4 years ago bringing in the future of Columbia fencing. now that the future and the tradition of Columbia fencing are kind of back on track, what is in the works for next year and beyond?
So the Friday after the NCAA Championships, we had a team meeting, and of course everybody's really happy and everybody's excited. And what I told the team was, look, this is an amazing year. We won the Ivy League championships. We won the NCAA championships. I mean, this is the top. If you want to retire, now's the time to retire. This is it. I mean, how much better can it be? But if you do want to take that journey of all the doubters out there saying that we can't repeat, saying that, let's see if they can do it again, it's going to be a lot more pressure. It's going to be a lot more work. And, the good news is no one quit, no one retired. And now we're just moving on to the next season.
And for those that have watched your TED Talk, you have spoke a little bit about your recruiting approach, and it's somewhat a mix of the Moneyball concept and, of course, adjusted for fencing. How does that help you recruit against some of these Big Ten schools that have the ability to offer scholarships?
So, I look at recruiting in a lot of different ways. One is, are they a good five-touch fencer, or can they be a good five-touch fencer? And there's some sports analytics which can help you look at that. Also, are they going to be fencing for the next 5 years? Because you're recruiting these kids when they're juniors in high school, you're committing to them when they're seniors in high school, and they still haven't even come to your school yet for those 4 years. So desire, how much does this kid actually love the sport? And I'm getting good to read into, is someone just doing this to get into school, or they really love the sport and they want to get the best education and become the best fencer they can be. So I take all these different pieces and put them together, and then hope that they test very well on the SAT or ACT so I can help them get into Columbia.
And of the people that you recruited this year, who are you most excited about for next season, and who do you see has that hunger and drive to continue fencing for Columbia?
So with our new recruits coming in for next season, we have some remarkable recruits. On the women's side, in women's foil, actually, Iman Below, who was on the junior world team recently. She made top 16. She was on the junior world team that got second place. She's coming. She's a kill on a strip. She's amazing. And then her counterpart, Quinn Crum, who's another top woman foil fencer, is going to make great impacts here. On the men's side, we have in foil Nolan Shrugs coming in, who's going to be another great impact in men's foil. And then we graduated Will Spear and Michael Josephs in saber, and Calvin Liang, who was second to Jeff Spear at this year's Nationals. He'll be coming in. So those are just a few of some of the great recruits coming in next year.
Just a few, some pretty big recognizable names, but just a few. Well, with that said, you mentioned the fact that this is the top. This is kind of it, and it really cannot get much better going forward, given all of your success this year. That said, what predictions do you have for the team next season and your ability to repeat?
Well, like I was saying before, it is a young team. We will miss the 7 graduating seniors that are graduating this year. They're a big part of the success that we had. But at the same time, the junior class that will be seniors next year, they're going to step it up, and we're going for a repeat. I think the men's side, we've been sharing the title with Harvard the last 2 years, and they really want to win it outright. So I think that's like another goal for them. But otherwise, I'd like to do the same thing next year.
All right, well, congratulations again on this season, and best wishes in achieving the repeat next season.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.